Thanks for meeting with us today, Luke. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and exactly what you do?
So I'm a photojournalist, working mainly with the wire agencies. So one day I could be doing politics, or I could be doing a story on climate change, or I could be doing a story on the economy, or, well, anything really, anything that's in the newspapers or on the news websites.
Coronavirus is obviously the word on everyone's lips at the moment. It's in every piece of news. I'm assuming that's going to be something that is probably already taking up a huge amount of your time. What is it you're looking to cover? Is there anything you're looking to focus on, or are there any risks that you're personally worried about?
I'm worried about passing it on to older people. I mean, I'm quite young. Apparently I'm not going to feel the effects of it as much anyway. But I think it's a very, we haven't had to face something like this before. And I'm worried about freelancers being impacted. So many of my friends have had stuff cancelled. I'm worried about that, and I'm worried about passing it on to other people. We've got to be so careful on how we shoot this. I'm not a wise old man who's been in the industry for years and years and years, so this particular story is going to be incredibly difficult to shoot in getting access, looking after your subjects, not putting anybody at risk. You've got pictures of people wearing a mask. That doesn't really tell a story on its own. You've got to have it with other things. You've got to photograph the empty spaces. I suppose you've got to somehow photograph people, be it in self-isolation, people in hospitals. I mean, one photographer can't do that. A team of photographers could.
Luke, I'm sure there are a lot of young photographers out there who would love to be entering into the world of photojournalism and managing to see some of the things and photograph some of the things that you've had the opportunity to do. What advice would you give to those younger photographers in order for them to enter into this world of photography that you've been able to access?
Well, there's no set path. It's really, there isn't a set way of doing it, but you must go out and shoot, and you must be, if you get that phone call, you drop everything. You can't say, oh, can I do it tomorrow? Can I do it the next day? You've just got to go and do it. If you haven't got a meal with the family, you've got to drop it and go. Just wing it as well. You've got to be prepared to, if you're going somewhere, you don't worry about it. It'll be okay when you get there. Your editor shouldn't have to, or somebody who's commissioning you to go and do something, they don't need to worry. They shouldn't have to worry about how you're going to get there. That's all your job. You just got to not think about it and just do it, and just shoot all the time.
Luke, I'm sure there are some people out there that are wondering about how this industry actually works. How can you generate money through this industry? What can you tell those people?
You've got to shoot the news, and then look at newspapers as well. Then you'll see what they want. You'll get the idea of what they want. You can submit that through. There's loads of agencies out there who will take your work and sell it for a cut. Some pay more than others, and then once your name gets out there, you might start picking up shifts and things like that. Don't go to an editor saying you want to do this. If this particular outlet have covered it before, don't send it to them. Really know who you're pitching to. If it's and know that you can make it happen. If you pitch it and then you can't make it happen, the picture editors wasted their time, and they're the busiest people in a newsroom. They're just always looking for a photographer. And if they've contacted you, don't and ah, just say yes, because they've contacted you because they're desperate. They don't want to mess around. They just want someone to say yes. And if you say yes once, they'll ring you again.
A lot of the images that you've been able to take seem very close and very respectful, but very personal. What would you say is a good attitude going into any of the situations you've been in that allow you to get that closeness, but not intrude into those people's either private moments or amazing moments or worse moments that you're happening to be there and view?
I think you've just got to play it by ear. Sometimes you don't shoot. During a riot, there's some things you can never shoot because I was doing the yellow vests in Paris, the Gilets jaunes, and there was some events in that you could never photograph because you would get your head kicked in. So you just got to use your common sense. Street photography in the UK, I think, just don't be too intrusive. I think you don't have to go in there. Like there was that thing with Fujifilm recently, wasn't there? You don't have to go in and shove a camera in people's faces. You can do things at a distance really, really nicely. And to be honest, sometimes it looks so much better. Photograph some things. They give you access, but some things you just put your camera down for because they're not. You've got to have this respect. You just treat it like you were in the frame, I think.
We're obviously both from Brighton, which has, I don't know about you, but a very different feel to a lot of different places, especially in the UK. How did you feel when you first started photographing somewhere like London in comparison to being brought up somewhere like Brighton?
Yeah, I think you can photograph anything you like in Brighton and people just don't care here. I think in London people sometimes are a little bit more uptight, but then again, like you just take the picture, I think. Sometimes you ask, if you're doing a portrait, you ask, but then a lot of the times you're being natural, you're not allowed to set things up, so you've just got to shoot.
Do you ever find that your own political beliefs can sometimes leak into the way that you're taking images of, say, politicians and the circumstances that they're in?
No, I just think you shoot what you see. Of course, we all have our own political views and whatnot, but you've got to just shoot what you see, and then you can't be biased, I think.
So if you're in a place where you're shooting and it's somewhere like the slums and there's raw sewage going through the streets and there's people who are sitting there suffering from terrible diseases in terrible conditions, and obviously as an outsider you want to protect yourself from that and the risks that are involved in that situation, but do you ever...
I don't know, I think you've just got to... I think the story's more important, you know? You've got to be there to take the picture. If you're trying to get a glimpse into their life and the dire situation they're in, you have to be there, don't you? You've got to be standing in this sewage or whatever it is. You've just got to do it. We're in a very, very privileged position where we can leave. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But if you're telling a story, there's things that you have to do even if you're a little bit uncomfortable doing them like that, yeah.
It's been super interesting hearing about all of your experiences, Luke. I'm sure there is plenty more to come in the future, so thanks for meeting with us.
Thank you. No, it's been great. I've enjoyed it.